Scientific research relies on simulation for nearly all inquiry, from the formation of galaxies to the dynamics of protein unfolding and the origins of consciousness. These inquiries require advanced numerical algorithms and parallel computers. In particle physics, simulation is the primary tool used to observe behavior otherwise invisible to the human eye. This technology is equally prevalent in high-stakes training. Aircraft pilots, anesthesiologists, and power plant workers all practice in simulated environments to acquire specific operative skills before entering a high-risk real-world scenario. Given this professional ubiquity, one might expect simulation to be a standard teaching method in schools. However, its presence in K-12 and higher education remains scarce, and the research supporting its effectiveness is fragmented. While practical hurdles, like hardware funding and curriculum alignment, are often cited as the cause of this delay, these issues affect almost all classroom technology. The specific barrier for simulation is cultural and conceptual. It stems from a confusion regarding the epistemic status of simulation, what it is, and its specific role as a method for acquiring knowledge. This confusion begins with the word itself. Historically, the verb to simulate was associated with pretending or the intentional distortion of an event. This negative connotation traces back to Plato, who viewed mimesis as a fictitious replica of reality. This contrasts with Aristotle, who saw representation as a valid means to investigate and know nature. Modern simulation denial among educators often mirrors Plato's skepticism. There is a concern that because students lack developed knowledge of a system, they will confuse the simulation with the real world. The second major barrier is the conflation of model-based scientific simulations with commercial video games. In common usage, the term simulation is often tied to entertainment and experiential roleplay. To apply simulation effectively to complex learning, we must look past these commercial associations and define the specific ontological structure of a model-based system. We must establish a clear theoretical boundary that separates experiential roleplay from model-based instructional simulation. A game is an occupation that is pleasant in itself. It is bound by its own rules and driven by competition, where players interact with the system primarily to win or improve a score. A simulation is bound by the constraint of imitation. It represents the functioning of one system by means of another, and its purpose is the acquisition of knowledge or the achievement of a practical goal. This Venn diagram shows how the two concepts overlap in practice. This overlap creates simulation games, where imitative systems include explicit rules, goals, and scoring, often used in instructional contexts to increase motivation. While these features can blend, an instructional simulation is defined by the accurate reproduction of a system's behavior rather than the spontaneous fun of a game. A simulation is not a static copy of reality, but the result of three specific conceptual transitions. First, an idea becomes a system, elements combining to yield new results. Second, the system becomes a model, a deliberate simplification filtering out extraneous data. Finally, the model becomes a simulation, an interactive representation where inputs cause the system to update dynamically. Cognitive scientist Domenico Parisi distinguishes between interactivity between images, like clicking a hypertext link, and interactivity with images, where the image changes based on how the user manipulates the underlying model. A simulation is therefore a dynamic cognitive artifact. It uses a manipulatable interface to reveal the behavior of a hidden mathematical model. A distinctive feature of these digital systems is that the student does not interact with the theoretical model directly. Learning happens in a mediated loop. The student manipulates a physical interface, translating their action into parameter changes in the computational model. The model calculates the result and updates the visual representation. The student observes this change, reorganizing their internal cognitive structures. This architecture turns the computer into a cognitive mediator. It creates a synergistic relationship where the machine handles the complex calculations while the human mind focuses on inference and integration. This computational mediation lets students practice without the temporal or spatial constraints of a real-world laboratory. Simulation provides spatial independence. Students can examine systems that are impossibly large, like galaxy formations, or infinitesimally small, like molecular vibration. It also allows for time compression. Geological epochs that take millions of years can be observed in minutes, while neurochemical actions that occur too quickly for the human eye can be slowed down and analyzed. Furthermore, simulation ensures safety and cost-effectiveness. Students can trial and error actions that would cause catastrophic damage in reality, like releasing pollutants into an ecosystem, without real-world risk. These advantages directly facilitate complex learning. By selecting and organizing key information in a zero-risk sandbox, students can more effectively integrate new data with their previous knowledge. Building an effective instructional environment for simulation is a multidisciplinary challenge, necessitating a framework that extends into cognitive science and philosophy. This flowchart illustrates the 4 disciplines that must be synthesized. Cognitive science explores mental simulations, while philosophy of science validates knowledge. Instructional science provides design principles, and modeling and simulation expertise selects the correct computational paradigms. Only by integrating these fields can we overcome the simulation paradox. When we treat simulation as a rigorous knowledge method rather than just a digital tool, we can utilize the full epistemic potential of model-based learning.